Hey everybody, good to see you. Zach Bice here. Today we're going to do an off the cuff, out of this little brain box birdhouse. No plans, no drawings, just coming up with something straight out of the wild imagination. So here we go. Okay, so what I'm going to be using today for a birdhouse for my bird brain is just your basic standard cedar fence picket. You can get these at Lowe's, Home Depot, under $4. I have 2 pieces at 12 inches of length. I left the end here because I'm going to be cutting that off anyway, and a bunch of small pieces that I cut off at the miter saw, roughly 1 inch in width, just a handful of them because I don't know exactly how many I'm going to need. And so yeah, that's where we're going to start. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure off the cuts I'm going to make for the top and bottom of this birdhouse. Leave that board alone. So I'm going to measure to the center. This is right at 5.5, so 2.75 is the center of our board. And I'm going to measure 1/2 inch away from the center mark on both sides. So that gives me my flat space on top. And here I'm going to come down, let's come down 1.5 inches. The thought process behind this is I'm going to make curved cuts to give this kind of a curved roof. And to do that, I'm going to use this polyacrylic can and line up my marks. So this is basically what we're looking at for cutting the top. Now we're going to do the same for the bottom, except I'm going to round it off going the other direction. So also going to come up, let's come up 1.5 on both sides for that as well. Then we're going to put, this is a 1 gallon can, so pretty much any 1 gallon paint can will work for this. You can make the curves whatever you want, really. All right, line those up and make my mark. It should be, we should be good. So that's where I'm going to use the bandsaw to cut those. So I don't have to make marks on both boards. I'm going to tape these boards together. Don't want to put the tape over the line where I'm going to be making my cuts. So every board's taped together, let's take it to the bandsaw. All right, we're over at our handy dandy bandsaw. I have my safety glasses on. And for our friend Ramon, just for you, buddy. And keep these pieces. We're going to need them. We can take our tape off. Throw that away. Now, since I am over here by my vise, I haven't done it in a while, I'm going to give y'all some nice, precise Bice advice by the vise. Ain't that nice? Say that real fast. It's 5-6 times. My stepfather, one of the best men I've ever known. He's been more of a dad to me than my own father, and just fantastic guy, one of the smartest guys I've ever known. And the advice he gave me a long time ago was this: rudeness is a weak person's imitation of strength. Think about that. Rudeness is a weak person's imitation of strength. How true that is. It costs nothing to be kind. It costs nothing to be nice. And it costs others when you're rude, discourteous, and just nasty to people. So, be kind, be nice, don't be rude, or you will come across as weak. It is a tool that the weak-minded and weak-willed tend to wield against others, and it's not very effective. So, it won't work on me. Anyway, that's the Bice advice by the vise. So precise, ain't it nice? Get back to our build. This will be my front. Now, for the hole for the birds to go in. Now, there is a size that birds like. First of all, it needs to be big enough for the birds to enter the birdhouse. That's pretty obvious. However, you don't want it to be too big, because then they know instinctively that predators can also get in and they won't use it. So the research I did online said anywhere between 1.5 inches to 1.75 inches, 2 inches at most. Really depends on what bird you're making the birdhouse for, but most of the birds around here, they can fit in a 1.5 to 2 inch hole. So I will measure up. I'm gonna say 3.5 inches. And of course, 2.75 is our dead gum. That is dead on. How about that? Dead eye Bice. One other thing to consider when making the hole for the door, you want to make sure it's high enough from the bottom so they have room to build their nest and so the little baby birds don't fall out. Now, before I measure out the sides, I want to put on our bottom and our roof, our floor and our roof.
I always had hope in my Savior that He would grant me healing and peace. Then He brought me back to this labor. Woodworking is what He wanted for me. My heritage, my past, my love for the craft, meeting new people and sharing a laugh, spraying that sawdust, living proud and free, molding God's creation here at Bice Family Tree. I always had hope in my Savior that He would grant me healing and peace. Then He brought me back to this labor. Woodworking is what He wanted for me. I always had hope in my Savior that He would grant me healing and peace. Then He brought me back to this labor. Woodworking is what He wanted for me.
So now I'm going to measure the sides. Now I'm going to measure where it actually will make contact with the roof and the floor. Not going to measure all the way on the inside, or it just won't fit. So we're looking at 8 3/4 on this side. These measurements will most likely be different. Oh my gosh, they're not. They're dead on. 8 3/4, both sides. That's fantastic. So, be right back. I'm gonna go cut those pieces on the miter saw. Okay, back. One side I am going to make stationary. The other side, I'm gonna make it to where it can be opened and cleaned out. So, the thing is, I want both sides to be flush because the latch and everything that I'm going to put on is going to need to be flush for it to operate properly, plus the hinges. So, I'm going to flush it on one side. Take my pencil, make my mark. I'm going to trim that off with the bandsaw. All right, so this side, the right side, or left side is for facing the birdhouse. I'm going to make permanent. So we have our one side here. Now this side, we're gonna do some fancy schmancy hinges and all that good stuff. All right, so now we have our door. So for our latch, going to put the stud on the door itself. You know, what's really difficult is I've got big meaty hands. Like, I've got gigantic hands. So working with these itty bitty screws, y'all, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. All right, so now going to put our latch on. All right, we are good to go. Have our latch, we open it up, clean out in the winter, latch her back up, we're good to go. Okay, so next, I'm gonna tell you why I told you to save this piece. We're gonna put it right here, glue it on as a little perch for our bird. A little tight bond 3. Because it's going to be outdoors. Use, as Van says, my unique little glue spreader. And then we're going to eyeball about where to put this. All right. Get a little bit of squeeze out. Got a question. Does anybody still like put glue on your hand, let it dry and peel it off like skin like we did as kids? Anybody still do that? Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna be real with you. I do. I'm a kid. I have not grown up. I've just grown up physically. So, there's our little birdhouse. And it's a fun little build. Took what, 15-20 minutes. you can do a lot of things to also personalize it. You can do wood burning like I do on the face of it. Actually, here's one I did. This is my very first one I did the other day, and I took my wood burning kit and burned that on the front. I plan to do some ivy leaves or roses or something like that on the side. Personalize it. If you plan to make them to sell, doing stuff like that can up your price. So, it takes maybe 5 minutes for me to do that with the wood burner, and I could probably get another $5 or $10 out of it. So, who knows? So thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you like. If you like this build, let me know. If there's something you'd like to see me do differently, let me know that too. I've got a lot of crazy ideas in this brain of mine, believe it or not. But I'd like to hear from you. So please like, share, subscribe. I love all of you. God bless you. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.
I always had hope in my Savior, that He would grant me healing and peace. Then He brought me back to this labor. Woodworking is what He wanted for me. My heritage, my past, my